Hey, old God, how you doing?
Oh yes, thank you, thank you. It's good to be here. Good to be here.
I was saying to you before that we've had clowns before, but we've never had an old god, so we're very honored.
Oh, happy to be here.
So to start things off, I never really ask people from I guess from Instagram if they have questions, but I did it for you, and I got a lot of people who were just dying to know. I probably got
Oh,
like maybe like 15 people hit me up. Obviously, I
oh
can't
shit.
include all the things that they wanted to know, but as we go through this chat, we'll include in terms of getting started. Could you give me a rundown of your origin story?
Oh yes. Well, I was made by the mud, you see. So a lot of people were made from other people, right? So there were people that produced people that produced people, and it's kind of gone on like that. But I was around before all that. It was just me and it was the birds. And actually the birds weren't even there yet. It was just me and it was the rocks and it was the muck and the mud and the steam and the gases. And I kind of wandered around and talked to some mud for a while. And I was born from the mud, so I learned to talk from the mud. And then eventually, everyone else kind of showed up slowly. We had slime. We had vapor. Vapor was crazy, man. He should have been there back when vapor was tearing up the planet. And eventually, we had little troglodytes, and they were pretty boring, but they were so cocky. They were like, "Oh, we're gonna start this whole thing off," and it's like, "Shut up, fucking troglodyte," right? And then eventually, dinosaurs, then people, and people wanted to like worship the sun, and that was fun. I like those people. And then then other people wanted to like, dig holes, and that was fun. I like the hole digging people. And now we're like modern man, psychopathic technology nut jobs, and it's getting pretty crazy out here, to be honest.
Well, speaking about like technology nut jobs, I guess the invention of Instagram is something that's quite new to you, right? Because you've been doing this for
Oh,
a long time before Instagram.
Oh, you should have seen me back when it was just smoke signals, man. I used to fuck up the smoke signal scene. Long puff, short, 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 long puff, but
Mhm.
smoke signal, you do a smoke signal now and you're gonna get a federal charge for burning stuff in the wilderness. So yeah, Instagram's crazy. Instagram's new. I'm new to it. It's been pretty fun, heavily addictive, but fun.
Yeah, there seems to be like people seem to really relate to. I don't know if you would consider yourself an absurdist.
Well, when you've seen so much as I have, you can't help but be an absurdist because
That's
none
a
of
good
this shit
answer.
makes sense anymore.
Yeah, I mean, there's just like even some of the questions. Like I had called Maya, who I've never met, who I think is from the US. Basically, she said, "How do I lure old God out into the woods? Is it like a stray cat? Do I leave a bowl of cured trout on the porch, and will that be enough?"
Oh my goodness, cured trout? Are you kidding me? Like a smoked salmon, maybe on a
I
string?
think
Oh, I'd
so.
be there. That's for sure. I'd say if she really wanted to lure me from the woods, she could. This works. This has been done before. I've been captured in the past. Take fresh honey, put it on the windowsill when there's a full moon, and then I just can't help but come and start licking the windowsill. In the moonlight. Who wouldn't do that? Like who wouldn't
No, it sounds
do that?
very like a lycanthropic like werewolf kind of tactic that you got going on there.
Yeah, I fell victim to that many a time from many a Maya.
So when you go out into the woods, is there anybody else with you when you capture this, or are you putting up a tripod?
Sometimes I've convinced friends of mine. Sometimes we go really deep. Sometimes we're like hiking for miles or many kilometers with heavy stuff and we're shooting in the woods and it's crazy. And sometimes we've disrupted local fishermen who have hiked all their fishing gear out to fish the lake and we scare the fish away. So oftentimes I'll go out with two friends or just one friend. Sometimes I go by myself, and that, to be quite honest, feels sad and lonely and not particularly fun.
Yeah, of
Setting up
course.
a tripod, jumping around alone in the woods, jokes on me in that case. But when my friends are there, it's a good time.
Are these friends of yours humanoid?
I take a humanoid friend of mine, and then he brings his talking dog. So
I
you may
see.
have seen the talking dog in the pictures.
I think I have seen a talking dog. I've heard lots of references to birds. I don't think I've seen the dog yet. Oh, actually, no, I have seen the dog. But is it really a dog, or does it have an origin story of its own? Was it human?
Well, my friend's dog, he was in a few videos. I actually bring my dog, and his origin story is that, one day I rolled a rock. I like to just do shit. I like to go around. A lot of people, they wake up and they just lie on the hammock.
Yeah.
I like to wake up and do shit. So I was out there, and one time I saw a rock, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna roll this rock, and I rolled it, and then I heard a little beep 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 beep, and I turned around, and where the rock was, there was this little puppy rolled up in the dirt, and I picked it up, and I felt this strange feeling in my bosom, and I pulled out my breast. I didn't know, it was pure instinct. And as I held the puppy, milk dripped from my nipple, and the puppy licked the nipple milk. And I'd never lactated before. That
Wow.
was the first time. And
That's
since
incredible.
then, me and that little dog have been inseparable. Uh, just the other day, I gave that dog a bath, and then we walked through a local park, and the dog ran up to the most recent place where the goose had been pissing and rolled in the goose piss and started smelling terrible all over again.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Would you say that is it safe to say where you live, like where you kind of are based, or do you want to keep that in a mystery?
I do go around, but lately I've been on the western part of the United States.
And do the people around you, your neighbors, they know you quite well? You're something of a local hero, I would imagine.
Yes, there's obviously there's Sasquatch, Bigfoot,
Mm.
big deal. And then there's the chupacabra, big deal. But then after that, some people have seen me. Like I said, the local fisherman saw me once. Plenty of hiker has seen me.
Are you sort of, do you carry like an EpiPen with you or like a defibrillator in case like these people have a allergic reaction to seeing you?
Honestly, because I look the way I look, I carry a walking stick to beat them away if they try to kill me. A lot of people don't like clowns these days.
Yeah, actually. I mean, you tour a lot. Would you have had any resistance to you being a clown, like in some parts of the US?
Oh, it's easier now to be a clown than it was 20 years ago, say.
Mm.
But then I don't know if you know this, but there's a new documentary coming out about John Wayne Gracie. Bad for clowns. Bad for clowns. I thought we all forgot about him, and then Peacock is like, "Oh, let's bring up John Wayne Gacy again." So now clowns are gonna have to suffer through this bullshit again.
I mean, he has kind of put clowns back at least 35 years.
Oh boy, like it's a people hated mime, and then John Wayne Gacy showed up, and they really hated clowns.
Is he the only clown serial killer that surely there's been other ones. The cunt.
He's probably the only one that's been caught.
Do you reckon? So, do you reckon there's something to do with being a clown that makes it easier to get away? I would have thought the opposite.
Well, no, you're right, because it's quite the look. It's hard to get out of it. I think I hope he's the only clown serial killer. I really do. But then there's such like a lore, you've got it, you've got what's his name? Pennywise, right?
Yeah. Yeah, clowns in popular culture definitely
Violent.
definitely yeah, seen as aggressive. I don't know, like we've had one clown before, but I feel like it's different. I feel like you have more in common with you might thank me for this, but you have more in common with Pennywise than John Wayne Gacy.
Oh, thank God. I would so much rather be in a sewer with a balloon than do whatever John Wayne Gacy did.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like even murderers don't want to be associated with John Wayne Gacy. You know what I mean?
No, not to get this conversation doesn't have to be so dark, but Jeffrey Dahmer didn't last long in prison. Prison's not a good place for people who do the most fucked up things.
No, yes. But I mean, there's no because I know that there's an Ed Gein documentary. I know we're going full true crime now, but it was always
Oh, who's Ed Gein?
Destiny.
I'm not that up to date, I guess.
Ed Gein's the guy that Leatherface was based off of in the Texas
Oh
Chainsaw
shit.
Massacre. Although Texas Chainsaw Massacre is not a real story, but Ed Gein is the guy who would wear people's faces. And they got the guy from is it Sons of Anarchy? Do you watch much TV?
Yes, I did skip Sons of Anarchy though.
You did skip it. Well, there's a really attractive guy in that, and they've
Is
made
he
him.
Aussie?
I don't think he is Aussie. He gives Aussie vibes, but he's not
Leading
Aussie. I
man
mean,
vibes. He gives leading man vibes, which means
leading man
Aussie
vibes. We have a lot of leading men in Australia. Yes.
vibes. It's a continent of leading men. No wonder
Yeah.
the English sent you all down here. Get out of here. The fops need a chance. You leading men, go to the prison island.
Did you say once that you'd been to Australia before?
Oh yeah, I was in Melbourne. I was in Brisbane. I was in Perth. I was in Sydney.
What did you do here?
I was touring a show.
Was the show related to the shows that you tour at the moment?
No, no, it was I was paid to do another thing. Maybe this wouldn't be the interview. You probably wouldn't want to animate this. There'll be better stuff. But I was in that show Absinthe, if you've ever heard of it. It's an
Okay,
Aussie
yeah.
company called Spiegel World, and we toured through Australia.
Wow. And what was your interpretation of Australia?
Oh, uh, oh boy, three, no, four things really come to mind quickly. They might be a little bit cliche, but there I was walking through the park in Brisbane, and this giant jet black, huge thing flew above my head, and I was startled. And someone said, "Oh, it's just a flying fox," and they kept walking, and people
Yeah.
were very calm. And then there's the bin chickens. The what are they called?
Yeah, they're called bin chickens. There's also another name for them, but I can't remember what it is. Brisbane has them. Yeah, Sydney has them too.
Yeah, there's like a dinosaur just walking around, and a guy in a store. I was getting some pie, and he took the broom out and was so violent, but the birds kept coming back. They did not give a damn for this guy's security measures.
Yeah, I feel like
Very strict.
you had a pretty good Brisbane education because I just did 5 days there and I feel like that's exactly what I saw. I think
I
you
loved it. You know, I learned to scuba dive in Brizzy, and they took us to this river, and the guide had memorized all the trash. So it was like, oh, let's go check out the 4 or 5 shopping carts. Let's go to the Buddha statue that someone threw off the bridge. Over here, there's like half a truck. And so we
oh
just sort of like check out the trash.
he knew where all like the ancient crap was in the ocean.
Yeah,
That's
it was
amazing.
fantastic. And then we went to
That
some boat that they sunk off the shores. That was cool.
and it wasn't the Titanic.
No, no.
Okay,
Some
just checking.
military boat.
This is all very pre-gentrification. You know, I like what we're talking about here. It's what I got you on the podcast for, that old world kind of feel. Yeah. I'm just soaking it in. Yeah, because I don't know what year you came to Australia in. Was that
It
recent?
was 2014.
Okay. So like kind of on the before the collapse, before the total collapse.
It's collapsed, huh?
I think there's a lot of things that were available in 2014 that were a lot of fun. And then past COVID, like there's a lot of cities that are still trying to figure their shit out, especially Melbourne. Melbourne's still trying to figure out what it is, I think. Again,
When I was there, they knew what it was, and it was a flat white.
yeah, they
God
still know
damn
how to
those
make
flat whites.
that. They don't know how to fix the mental health system here, but they know how to make a damn good flat white. I'll tell you that.
Oh, I spent a lot of time in the United States, and remember I was in Melbourne, and there was breaking news that a couple was living under a bridge.
Yeah, right.
And in
That's
America, it's like, wait, what? We don't have time to what? Under a bridge? That's not news.
yeah. No, I mean Australia does have a lot of I guess homeless people, but compared
But they seem to
to
care that there's homeless people. Like they
yeah,
seem
I think they
to
definitely
care.
care more than in other places. I mean, I've been to the US a bit. For me, I went to is Skid Row in it's in Canada, isn't it? That's in Vancouver, or is that in the US?
Oh, there is a Skid Row. I forget the street in Vancouver that's pretty edgy, but then there's also sort of a Skid Row in downtown Los Angeles.
Yeah, I've been to both, I think, but the one in Vancouver was crazy. The amount of homeless people on that block is just like it's
And they're
basically
just like standing and sleeping at the same time.
yeah. Well, there's that whole epidemic. Man, this this podcast got dark as hell. I thought you were supposed to be an
Hey
amusing.
man, I'm following your leads here. You're the one guiding the ship, man.
Yeah, I really like your room, by the way. It's like nice and pink and cheery. I'm just in
Yeah,
this
thank you, thank you.
South Korea like hostel, basically. That's it.
Small, white, efficient.
So, do you have like, I guess, do you have like favorite philosophers or writers?
Oh, I could really get down with some Alan Watts. I like a lot of Alan Watts.
I feel like you would like a lot of Alan Watts, actually.
Yeah, I like a lot of Alan Watts. I feel like
There is like a strange similarity, even in the way your videos are presented to maybe how an Alan Watts video feels, atmosphere wise. But I don't actually know what the correlation is because he wasn't a clown. He spent time in the woods, just like
he
you.
spent time in the woods, and he was funny. He would hit you with the wisdom and then cut you with a joke and then laugh in your face with that smoker laugh because he always smoked a pipe. He had that ha 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 ha.
He was a funny fucker. That's the thing about Alan Watts that never gets talked about. Like he was actually a funny dude.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
he would do fun stuff like, oh, holly diddly doo diddly dee. Like he'd do like oh the angels are just out there. He would do weird little sounds like that.
Shit. I mean, when did Alan Watts die? Do you know?
Oh, I've forgotten now, but I think he died early 70s, maybe.
Because I was just trying to make a correlation between when he died and when you were born, but then I'm such an idiot. I just remembered that you've been around since Mud.
Yeah, I've been around since Mud, so I beat Alan Watts to Earth, but I welcomed him when he showed up.
Yeah, well, you'd have definitely hung out with him. Hey, you would have had some stories. You guys would have had like an incredible time.
Oh yeah, hanging out with Alan Watts. Oh man, that guy used to blow my mind.
Yeah. And so when you go to the woods, do you feel like the stuff that you do, is it just off the dome, like, or is it rehearsed? Like, do you know what you're going to talk
Oh
about?
no, it's strictly off the dome. It's press play on that bad boy and then just sort of like get into it, man. Like, just like see the things, talk about the things, let it come. That's what's so nice about nature is I feel like in nature I can sort of channel something. So I feel like I'm up there. Had to work hard to get there, had to hike, had to bring water, bring food. It's kind of you feel sort of exposed and secluded all at the same time, and just channel some shit. And sometimes I find myself, speaking so loud in nature that my voice echoes through the mountains nearby, and that's a phenomenal feeling. Versus in the corner of a coffee shop trying to keep your voice down, talking to a friend or something. So it's nice to get out in nature. And I feel like when I'm out there, yeah, I just press play. It's all off the dome. And then the trick is to edit the videos because no one wants to watch a 7-minute video.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask. I was going to say, do you trek, deep into these forbidden places and then you sit down and you take a deep breath and then you speak for like, 30 seconds, then you put the camera away and go back home? No, obviously these are long, the expedition
Yeah.
is long, so the videos would be long and you would chop them up, right?
Yeah, I'll usually hang out there in the woods for, an hour or two and film maybe 3 to 7 times for maybe 5 to 11 minutes, maybe. Well,
Mhm.
unless I've got a friend and then we'll bang it out, maybe a 3-minute handful of 3-minute things. But if it's just me, I'll press play and just sort of get into it.
So you're a clown and a god who likes to go out into nature because you obviously resonate with nature, and you have this responsibility now with your content and the stuff that you create, right? You're working. You're now on the clock in the woods. So a lot of
On the
people
clock in the woods.
and
Yep.
a lot of people,
Me
especially
and the loggers,
artists.
the only ones that can say that.
Well, that's true. And a lot of artists have this thing, and I've noticed a lot of burnout with my friends, my community, because we have to monetize or, not even for the money, but like we have to commercialize our art.
I've always been an avid hiker. I like to get out there. I love the peace and the freedom and tranquility. I've been known to, pick a mushroom up off the ground, eat it while I'm out in the woods and really, really get into it. I've been known to do that.
I can see you
Right.
doing that. That sounds very old god coded, actually. Yeah.
Right. But it's a little different when you've got that extra bag with the camera and the microphone and it's got to be charged and there's the Bluetooth ready. So, it definitely hasn't ruined the woods for me. It's just, I kind of think about it sort of like, you know, I know people growing up because I did grow up in the woods. I knew people when I was growing up, more a young boy than an old god, and they like to go duck hunting, deer hunting, and fishing. And I never liked those hobbies, but like, hey, this is my hobby. Go make videos in the woods. So they would haul their, Winchester rifles out there, and I'm bringing my tripod. So when I think about it like that, I feel less silly.
Mm.
People
Yeah.
have hobbies. This is my hobby. But then more for the commercialization of it, like I do, Instagram really wants you to make these videos.
Instagram really does want you to make these videos, and I think maybe we should talk about that. Why does Instagram, the algorithm, it has a very interesting taste, doesn't it? It's a very particular type of necessity and need that it has. And your videos, I mean, look, I'm in Melbourne, Australia. I got recommended your videos heaps, like how did that happen? Why does the algorithm love clowns so much?
Yeah, I have no idea. I think maybe there's the visual component. I think it's I think one part this is me maybe really getting on my little throne here, but I feel like, because it's just old God, like there's a lot of comedians where it's like, Sally Jenkins doing ant Jessica, the character Aunt Jessica. And then you're like, oh, Sally's selling Sally. She's a
Mm.
funny bird and a great actor selling characters, but Old God's just Old God. So I think, ironically, this strange clown feels authentic in a landscape where everyone's selling you some shit. And Old God's just out in woods, kind of talking, and you don't know who he is, you don't know where he's from, you don't know what he's doing, and he's not selling anything. And I feel like, in a strange way, that's sort of a breath of fresh air, you know?
I think you did hit the bird on the head with that one, actually. Because like I'm trying to think now. I'm like, you're right. Like until very recently, I knew you as Old God, but I mean, I still know you as Old God. But I just checked your bio, your link tree, and I saw that like you have tours and stuff like that. And I didn't even know that because in your videos, you're not really telling anyone. And, like, I mean, you're telling everyone lots of things and nothing at the same time. There's no, go do this or go do that. And people, I've learned this the hard way from being in the music scene. You try to tell people to come to shows. They don't want to come to shows. People want to have fun. They don't want to be told what the fuck to do. And you're literally a clown in the woods. You're the best version of them. You are what they aspire to be.
A guy with no job, no agenda, no home, just out here having a good time.
Just a goofy person, hanging out in the woods with some ducks. Like
Yeah.
we all want to do that. You are living the ultimate bohemian dream.
Oh boy, it took a long time to get here, to quite honestly. Yeah, it took the whole, I was born with the mud and all that, but also it took a long time to get here.
Well, that's also what I want to ask you is like you obviously born in the mud and you're like an elemental, spiritual being, entity rather, But so I assume that adapting to because when humans came around and the invention of a job, what even is that? And you did you have to conform to other jobs as old God? Like, would I ever gone into, McDonald's and seen old God behind the desk?
Well, you might have seen Old God in a few coffee shops along the way, or maybe catering a few weddings. Old God actually was a birthday party clown for about 3 years,
Wow. That's
which was an
awesome.
amazing, amazing job. Like, let me tell you, man, I'd never like been a performer much, and suddenly I was a birthday party clown. And the thing with the birthday party clown is the parents paid for you, so the kids are yours, and the parents are off drinking, Kim Crawford, a nice Aussie export. Is it Aussie or New Zealand, Kim Crawford?
I don't even know who that is.
It's a big deal white wine out here for all the middle-aged moms in America.
I
So,
thought it was a person. There you go.
well, all the parents are drinking their white wine, and they're just like, hey, the kids are yours. You deal with it. So you're there with these, 12, 8-year-olds. It's total chaos. And if you can't keep them engaged, it becomes chase the clown, punch them in the balls. And that happened so many times at the beginning. And then I learned over the sessions, I would do 2 to 4 parties a weekend generally. I learned to just stay one step ahead of the kids. And the way you do that, the way I found, was just never let them know what you are. So they're like, I'd wear a big dumb wig. That's a wig. That's not your hair. What? Oh, no. What a thing to say to someone. You're telling me my hair's fake. This is my real, your hair's fake. Your hair's fake. No, it's not. Pull on it. Prove it. And they'd pull on it, So you have to just kind of constantly be, because if you don't, it becomes chase the clown, punch him in the balls, and the parents won't help you because they paid you $115. They're yours for an hour.
Wow. Thank you for that story. I was just gonna say I used to be a magician before I was a punk rocker journalist.
That's an amazing transition.
And no, and I think it's, I never got punched in the balls. But actually I did, but not for magic related stuff. But the thing is like, it's a similar kind of thing. You're dealing with difficult crowds of people. I think that clowns and magicians kind of have a lot more in common than, John Wayne Gacey would have you believe. I, I
Amen, brother.
I really, I really think that like, we've like, especially now playing shows on stage, I have a different approach to working an audience than somebody who was raised on music. I'm coming at it from a different angle because I know how difficult those crowds are. With magic, you literally have to prove to people, and I'm assuming that you would have done some magic too, because there's also that overlap, unless you're
Yeah.
like, you're not about it or something. I don't know how you feel about magicians, old God, actually. Your demeanor is saying otherwise.
No, 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 no. I know a few musicians. They're a wily bunch. Uh,
Mm.
I know this magician. Let's say there's a theater festival.
Yeah.
It's the Edmonton in Canada. Edmonton Fringe. I forget what their website is, but this one guy, this one magician, he took edmontonfringe.com and routed it to his own website because the official one is edmontonfringefest.com or something like that. That's some wily magician activity. So everyone goes, oh, let's see what the tickets are. edmontonfringe.com. Whoop, they're on Harrison Brown's magician website. That's some next level and yet typical magician shit.
That is typical magician shit because it's not even related to magic, and yet there's still a sense of awe. Like a hacker. He's really a hacker magician.
Yeah, yeah, and thinking outside the box and
I mean,
moving people to where he wants them to be. It's very.
hey, old God.
I kind of like mentalism too. I'm so impressed by mentalism.
Mentalism, yeah. Well, I mean, mentalism has roots in it has some roots in psychology. So, like, there is sort of an overlap there for all you listeners who think that we're talking a bunch of crap. Like, like there is an overlap there. If you're a mentalist, when someone's looking, if they look up, down, left. Like, if you think about it as like a clock, the eye naturally goes to different places, depending on what you're thinking about or seeing, or what part of the brain you're using or some bullshit like that. So there is some realness there. Hypnotism is a real thing. People do get hypnotized as well. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so I think a lot of that stuff doesn't get a good rep. I feel like clowns are coming back in fashion. Magic went out of fashion, and it's weird because like we started with, we magician. I don't even know why I'm adding myself as a magician. I feel like I need to be dressed as a clown to fucking do that. To be honest with you, but I feel like like magicians had David Blaine, and David Blaine was the most nonchalant, cool guy that you could ever be. And even having a guy that's like got the personality of like a brick wall, that guy wasn't enough to make magic cool. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
maybe
kind of like the unicycle. Like it's never going to be cool. People are putting engines on it and they're going 45 miles an hour wearing motorcycle helmets. It's still a unicycle.
what do you think it is about just having one cycle that makes it unappealing to people?
I think it's the visible balancing required. Cool people, think about James Dean. He leans against the Corvette. Think about John Travolta in Grease. He leans against think about Fonzie. He leans. No, anyone striving for balance, not cool.
That's a really good point. I don't think that's ever been discussed before. That
And
little
yet so obvious.
Yeah, it's so obvious, but so many things are like that. People don't want to talk about the real issues in life, because they're scared. They're scared of falling on their face.
Yep, the unicycles are out there. They're like, hey, let's talk about real stuff. And everyone's like, ah, dork.
I've seen lots of people with those like inventions, and they've always got a new way to kind of reinvent the same thing. Like there's like different types of like, do we have hoverboards yet? We don't have hoverboards yet.
No, they had that thing they named a hoverboard, and everyone was like, oh shit, hoverboard, but it was just that one wheel thing.
I saw a comment section on YouTube. I don't know if you know what Italian brain rot is, if you're familiar with that.
I
It's
know regular brain rot. What's the Italian version?
Italian brain rot is like it might be a generational thing. You might be a little bit older than me. Well, you're like billions of years older than me.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
it's this thing with AI characters that represent characters. So they typed in a prompt like they type in ballerina cappuccino, and it's like a ballerina with a like a latte for a face. And there's lots of those different characters, and I've definitely undermined the intelligence of anyone listening to this, and I will continue to
Wow.
do
So it'll be like Chad Fusili.
basically, yeah, some bullshit like that, and it just comes up with exactly what you think it's going to be. And they made they made an opera with all these AI characters in real life in costumes. Yeah, and I don't even know where I was going with this, but the comment section of that was basically comparing that, saying like we don't have hoverboards in 2025, but we do have this. So
Ah, yes. We have to accept the good things we do have.
this is true. All right, moving away from all that. I don't know how we went from murderers to Italian
I love
bread.
it. I love it. It's a wild ride.
It is a wild ride. Through your travels of the world, you seem like a worldly citizen. You are the world. Do you have any part of the world that responds to you the most?
I gotta say, Montreal, they really like the Old God show. Even the francophones, because I don't speak French, I speak Spanish and English. I throw in a little bit of French for them, but they really love the show. I think they respond well to the energy because it's an hour-long show.
Yeah.
And the show started before the videos. In Montreal, they really come out for the show. Like it's incredible. So and I think they really like the energy and the commitment and the absurdity. Even some of them who don't really super speak a lot of English. They're because I can talk pretty quick sometimes, and they're following along, but they're into it. So that's impressive. I love that. I love that I can go to Montreal and do a show. It's a lovely city. I love that town.
Yeah, I've been to Montreal. And, I also speak Spanish. I don't speak French, and it's interesting being there. Like, if you don't know French, even though everyone speaks fluent English, they will make you tip more, and they will fuck you over. And I just don't understand how that works. Like, I know what some words mean. I know enough not to be fucked over that way. Anyway, that less about me, more about your show. But Montreal is a beautiful place with really cool
Yeah,
people.
I like it so much. I've been kind of trying to learn some French, which is harder than I thought it would be. I learned Spanish when I was pretty young, and boy, I took it for granted.
Why did you learn Spanish?
I lived in Panama for a year,
Oh,
and
no shit.
I actually studied a lot of Latin American history. I don't remember much. I was in Bolivia for a while and Argentina for a while.
Oh, yeah. That's where I'm
Loved
from.
them both. Oh, that's where you're from, Argentina?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's cool though. Yeah, I wouldn't have taken you for like a Latin American kind of person. I see a lot more like Italy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And France on you. I get the European vibe.
Well,
Uh,
Buenos Aires is pretty European in
It
its
is,
way.
yeah, actually. You're right. You're schooling me on my own culture.
Well, I got to say, when I was a young boy, not so much a young old god, when I was a young man, I was in Buenos Aires, and that's where I first saw mime and clown in the street performance. And I would go to the parks there, and in the weekends there'd be huge clown shows or circus shows for money, and people would rake in all this cash. And I remember seeing this one guy with like commedia dell'arte masks and a nice costume going around working tables in like a plaza for
Wow.
money, and people loved it, both tourists and I think locals. And then I thought to myself, wow, if I learned how to do this clown shit, then I could travel the world with a non language based performance form
Mm.
and make money to supplement travels. So that's kind of when I came back from those travels. That's what got me to be like, oh, let me do birthday party clown.
So
And then birthday
Argentina
party
is like,
clown didn't lead to more traveling. What that led to was stand up. And then that led to clown school. And then that led to mime school. And I never got to do my big world travel doing a clown street performer. I tried street performing in San Francisco at the Fisherman's Wharf a few times, and it was fun. I could kind of get a crowd, and I liked what I was doing, but I did not know how to close it up and get the cash. I didn't have a hat line.
mm.
People who are good at street performance. It's a whole strategy. I didn't have anyone to teach me. I didn't know. I was just sort of going out.
Yeah, street performance is really, really difficult. Busking is what we call it in Melbourne. And
Yeah,
I
they got the Buskers Festival right out there.
Yeah, and I think busking is really like legitimately terrifying. I think busking like I can play a show to like 300, 400 people as long as it's in a closed environment that I've organized, I won't feel any anxiety. But I could busk in front of four people and it's just horrible because
Oh, it's terrible because in a
Terrible.
room, the energy stays there. The energy's tight. The people showed up. But on the streets, there's an open sky and they just walk right by and it just gets you in your heart every time. And they look at you like, oh, there's garbage on the ground. I'd rather keep walking.
Literally, I think it's such a belittling experience to be a busker. Even the idea of people having the option to throw coins at you, like the option is there. I know that you can put a hat on the ground, but they're throwing that shit at you. That is just such a belittling thing. And I think, yeah, maybe me as an ex-magician, current punk performer, I definitely, yeah, I get a pretty bad gut response to that kind of stuff. We do have some artists that have made it, as buskers first, but it's not really like making it in the city. Like no one's ever, no matter how good you are, the room isn't the way it needs to be. The atmosphere isn't the way it needs to be to facilitate a real kind of like spiritual. kind of outwards experience, I think.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Which is a shame because there's a lot of talented people who busk. But yeah, I mean, I did it once without knowing how to play my instrument on a shitty little amplifier, and it was horrific. And I think someone still paid me 50 cents, so I still made a bit of money, but it wasn't a
I
lot.
had a little trio for a while. We'd go out and we did a clever little thing involving music, and we were kind of in this painted cardboard. It was a monkey sitting on a banana, and the head of the monkey was cut out, and the head of the banana was cut out, and the banana's arms and legs were out, or whatever the case. It was like two heads, six arms.
Yeah.
And so like looked like the monkey was playing the drums with its legs and trombone with its arms, and then the banana was playing the saxophone. It was
Wow.
awesome. People would stop, buses would slow down. We'd go out every weekend. People would watch and just walk off, but we would make some money and then split it three ways. And it'd be like, wow, cool. Wow, all right, I made $35. I guess I'll get half a bag of groceries with that.
That's
It was
a
really cool, but
that-
it's a hard racket.
It is, but I like what you're doing. Your stuff like is more, I mean, it's less that feels less more like busking, even though there was, I guess, money involved in the equation, but less busking, more like chaotic good, like street
Yeah,
disruption, punk energy.
that stuff's I love that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, that's what we're all about. Like we just did a airport pub crawl where we promoted my album, which was about travel, and we went to the airport with 15 people. Willy Wonka, golden ticket, like a bunch of fans. And one of the guys got so wasted, he took his shoes off and he had his drink in one hand, Doc Martens in the other hand. He was just rolling around the heart of the beast.
That's a genius idea. An airport pub crawl. That's oh my God.
He's rolling around. He's like trying to get into the airport like premium lounge. He actually succeeded. And like what you were talking about before about like, that kind of mild chaos where it's like all in good fun, but it still has that kind of raw energy of maybe life could be more than what it is. And that's really
Well, that's makes sense. You're from Argentina because when I was down there, I got really into that energy. I feel like there is that. The streets are more alive than a lot of United States, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I came here when I was 4, not South Korea. I came to, Melbourne when I was 4. So I've been back a few times. I still speak the language and I watch and consume a lot of Latin American culture. And I have my ex-guitarist was Argentinian, my cameraman's Chilean. So we still have that network. However, that being said, like, yeah, I don't really know what like a punk Argentinian guy would be like because I've never seen them there. I know they treat that attitude more traditionally. They spike their hair up. It's more like performative. But I do, yeah, I appreciate what you're saying because it's nice to know that like maybe that's where my energy comes from, and not
Yeah,
from
yeah.
a neurological condition, but maybe it's actually just a blood kind of thing, from Latin America, which is true by the way, because Argentinians and Hispanic people are more warm-blooded than your average Australian, and that is just a character trait. I'm not saying everyone; some of them are assholes. You can still be warm-blooded and be an asshole.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, take it from me. But I think that kind of stuff is like really cool. So it's yeah, that was nice to hear. Thank you for that trip down to South America. Before we finish up, I've got a few more things I want to ask you about. So I saw there was a few or maybe one people have like painted your portrait before, right?
Yeah, there's been a few things of that. Somebody did like two people like sampled a video and turned it into a song.
Really?
A couple people have like done some drawings and some and there was that one painting. Yeah, yeah, she did a great painting. Yeah, I know you're talking about. Yes, Sarah. I can't remember her last name. Hodges. She just got a divorce. Maybe she changed her name. I don't know. Sarah though. Let's go.
Damn. Okay. Shit. Shout out to Sarah and the newfound freedom. I'm sure they'll make some awesome paintings as a result of that. Uh,
Absolutely.
that's awesome though. Do you make art yourself? Do you ever paint in your spare time?
I painted the wall behind me. But no,
Um,
I do make music. I make terrible songs. I'm not a musician necessarily, but I am musical. So I've probably made maybe 80 songs. They're very bad, but they have a certain charm and quality. But I wouldn't, I don't really know music. So they're very like they've got an outsider art vibe. They're the kind of songs only a mother could love. Some of them I'm very fond and I've shared a few. Some of them I like, but they're trash, you know.
It's interesting, yeah, that you use that word outside art. Like, obviously, I always think of Daniel Johns. Is it Johnson? I always fuck this up because we have a
I think Johnston, yeah.
it's Johnson. Yeah, we have a Daniel Johns here from a band called Silverchair. But
Oh,
yeah,
I remember Silverchair, yeah.
yeah, Daniel Johnston. I mean, excluding noise rock, this is like peak outside of music. The fact that I was able to send it to a lot of people who maybe might not traditionally have enjoyed that music, but now because of all we've been exposed to in 2025,
Uh-huh.
we've been bombarded with everything. There might not really be outsider stuff anymore. There might just be corporate and non-corporate. But I think back in
I
the
think you might be
90s,
right. Yeah, there's like stuff with a glossy producer and then the rest of it.
yeah, and it feels like we're wanting less gloss, more and more we want imperfections because of how hyper, produced everything has become and how
And
perfect
we're
everything
kind of at
is.
like the early, not even wave yet of whatever the hell AI is going to do to our culture, you know?
Exactly, and I think people are fighting back, and even people who were passionate about AI when it started are now starting to feel a little bit more depressed every day, a little bit more
I mean,
gray.
one comment I've noticed on the old God videos, one of the more recent comments is like AI could never and stuff like that. So I think that's interesting that maybe people post that on a lot of videos, but I've definitely seen that on the old God videos.
It literally couldn't. There's no way for it to. Even if AI created the exact same thing, for starters, it would need to have been fed your content beforehand. So AI is nothing more than a photocopier. And I think it's
Hmm.
important for us to know that because I think what's happening with how fast AI is moving is that a lot of artists start to ask themselves, why would I even make anything?
Yeah, so
And,
sad.
and it's so sad and it's so brutal and it's so crushing.
They like
And
rip the soul out of humanity with
literally the
people coming to
soul.
that conclusion.
But I think the best way to kind of look at it for people who end up listening to this is like AI is like a photocopier and it needs the source basically beforehand. There were always people who could plagiarize, since the dawn of time. If you were a playwright, your shit would get stolen. That threat was always there. Now it's just happening via a computer. And then you have to ask yourself, well, okay, this photocopier can now reproduce my art. It has my style as long as you continue to like keep on your toes and continue to be yourself, AI will never know that. It doesn't have access to the blueprint that is your soul. And as long as it requires a little bit more effort, than maybe you were willing to give as a creative when you started off. But it will never be able to kind of get you where it wants the most. It's not a
Yeah,
sentient thing,
yeah.
but it feels very much like a malicious force. And yeah, I mean, we can talk about it all day, but that kind of stuff is really important. I think, especially with what you do as well as what I do.
I think I really liked what you said because I think it is important that we kind of take the inevitability and the power away from it whenever we can. Calling it a photocopier is nice. I do think too another like response to the why bother learning an instrument if AI can do it is like, well, learn the instrument for your own soul expression.
Yeah.
So maybe like replace the importance of learning the instrument from like, oh, maybe I can be the next Bono to pull a lame reference. It's like, yeah, maybe, yeah, but also like maybe just like fucking connect with some other part of your psyche and do that.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to be like these ambitions of grandeur. Like we don't always have to fucking. I mean, I love you too, and I actually really like. Everyone fucking shits on Bono. I fucking love Bono. I feel like as a clown, you would like Bono too. He had his
I
clown.
do. The guy can sing. The guy can sing. I referenced him and then I got self-conscious, so I shit on him so you'd think I'm cool. There,
I
I
feel
did
like
it.
everyone fucking does that, especially when they talk about you too. Um, but I don't know. Like you're right. Like you can just do things because you want to do it, and you don't have to show anyone. It doesn't have to go anywhere. And like, look, we were all born. We all now. Most of us have, are conscious, about things. Some of us are not. But we're all trying to get to know what we are in this brief time that we have on this planet. Some of us do animated podcasts, others, dress up as clowns,
Or go
and
to the
are mud.
woods and fuck around. Yeah.
Fuck around and find out. And it's like, yeah, like you don't necessarily need to worry about all that stuff because the computer will never have a chance, or whatever the technology is, the AI will never have a chance to experience that. Um, And if it could be angry at anything, it might be angry at that very notion.
And I
uh,
think too, we anthropomorphize this thing, and it's good to remember that it's a machine.
it's not a thing. Yeah, it doesn't feel. And it gains no pleasure from supposedly being better than us. The only people who the only people who gain that satisfaction are the Dr. Frankensteins, that have created this type of apparatus. Like the people
Yeah,
who
yeah, yeah.
are proud of their technology. And I reckon those people who made this are people who I'd have to research. Maybe I could try to get them on the show. I'd have to research who it was that did the open AI and what their backstory is, but they probably didn't enjoy art school. Um, I know a few people who didn't. I mean, look,
Um,
myself included, but
some of my favorite bands, slightly tangential here. Some of my favorite bands are definitely art school bands. And then another fun thing is that a shocking amount of people have been to mime school.
you're
Like
right.
Bowie was a big mime, Robin Williams was a mime, and there's others I can't remember right now.
Well, because there's a lot of like that, especially that era of maybe like 70s, 80s. Like I know, like I assume you would enjoy like Talking Heads and like a lot of bands that are
Yeah,
related
absolutely not
to
art school band.
art school bands. There's still a tradition of that. I mean, fuck, my band is technically that. Like two of the members, me and Sophie, are art school people. I'm an art school
I love
drummer.
it. I think there's that extra level that an art school band can have, which is
I
fun.
think so too. I think it adds because actually it's not even just an extra level, it's a complete difference in perspective. An
Hmm.
art school band, not even I shouldn't say band, having art school members in your band means, and especially if they're leading the band, which in this case they are, a lot of the time, people who have that kind of perspective, it's like you're not making music for the sake of making sounds at the beginning. Like you're making music because you want to express something else. Like I made music, I only got into music because I wanted to have an outlet for my visual art through album covers and through posters and through promoting my shit at shows and yada yada yada. So like I was never coming at it from, oh, this song rocks. This is how you
That's a
make
fun
people
reason to write
watch.
a song. I want to design a poster. Let me write a song.
Well, I think cover art is probably a better metaphor or for that, but analogy. But yeah, I think it's just a matter of like why you got into it in the first place. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Like I started off as like a visual arts kid, and then throughout the 4 years or 8 years now that I've been doing it, I now really care about the music. It's never too
Mhm,
late
mhm.
to get into it for the same reasons others initially started it as well.
I think Deantwood, if you remember them,
Of course.
they were art school band, but also like they could fucking rap.
Crazy, crazy fucking band, crazy group. I know they're not very popular now because they they adopted that guy and then they ditched him and treated him like shit. And then they used him for their videos. They really exploited him. Although my mate, he says that all art is exploitative. I don't know how you feel about that, but I kind of agree with it in a way. No.
I think there's definitely I would push back and say most art.
Yeah, most but yeah, anyway, we've definitely gone on quite the detour. Before we finish, I guess two things. One, is there anything that you would like to promote? I usually forget to ask people this, but I think it's like I should be asking this. Is there anything that you've got coming up in the next, say, 2 months to like next year that you'd like to promote on the show?
I'm taking a little break right now from the videos. I'm gonna jump back on in a few weeks, so there'll be a bunch more videos coming out. Big scheme. I've never said this publicly, and you might not even put it in the podcast, but my big scheme right now is to make maybe 20-minute that people could like download for like $1. So that's sort of my big scheme right now, and then also maybe a big tour in the summer of North America.
When you
So just
say
videos, maybe more production value videos for a small monetary investment. Look at that. All art is exploitative. Here I am becoming a fucking
most
marketer.
most art, not your
But
art.
I hope to have a tour coming up of doing the show, and then I hope to have some exciting, fun videos and stuff coming out in the future. So
Yeah, I'd love to see like you mentioned production value. I'd love to see like where it could go. A lot of people like what you do, not that it's like I mean the costume is like really lavish and your makeup is really cool, but it's like Yeah, you're doing a lot with very little in the scheme of things, with how much money a lot of corporations have to throw at artists. And I'm the same.
Yeah.
We like milk everything. Anything we can use, we use it. It's crazy to think, well, yeah, your essence is already there. Imagine what would
I
happen if
often
you just
think
had more.
I got a buddy, he directed he helped me find the character and create everything and a few years back. We often talk like, man, what if someone gave us $100,000? Because we're doing this shit on like gas money and sandwich money.
Exactly. Exactly. Like imagine what you could pull off, especially I mean, I know you like the natural aspect is so important, but I know we just talked about AI, but this is not AI. Like imagine if you threw in some CG there, in some very smart and tactical ways. What could that be like? It's crazy to think what like some artists could be doing if they had a financial backing.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Like we
But
wouldn't
what
have
one thing I'm really love about the videos, and I would love to inspire other people with the videos if possible, is I used to wait around as an artist for other people to give me the green light.
yes.
Other people are gonna see me and be like, "Wow, this guy's fun. Let's invest in this guy." And then eventually it's like, "Wait, I love doing this shit. I've been doing this shit. I'm not going anywhere. Let me just fucking do it, and I'll do it at whatever scale I'm capable of." And I've had a lot of projects in the past. This one's like the kind of the most fun and most visible. But I think it's great when artists. I think it's a young thing. A younger artist, maybe in their 20s, is like, oh, I need an agent. I gotta be on a fucking TV show or I gotta be on a fucking band tour or whatever. And I need other people to give me that. But it's like, man, we're artists, we're the culture. It's like really important that we do this shit and express it. Because sitting around waiting for some asshole with a record label to tell you you're good enough to do your thing, that's such trash. But it's so easy to get trapped in that, I think.
That's so fucking true. I definitely feel that so much, especially now, like I'm 29, and I definitely
Hmm.
feel that feeling of like I spent so much of my early 20s trying to be something, be specialized, and even if you want to be avant-garde and surreal or whatever, on the back of your head, you are still thinking, I hope people like this, in some way.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's interesting having that as like, yeah, at the forefront throughout my entire 20s, just with my art, rather than just being comfortable making stuff. And I guess it's the economical side of things. If I was in a place economically that I was stable, I'd definitely be able to do whatever the fuck I want, in any way, shape, or form. But because I'm not at that place, everything is heightened. Every decision is heightened. Every argument is heightened. Every band decision is heightened. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I think making from limitations is a very, very useful thing, and it actually
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
some of the best art.
I agree.
It might even be the most valuable lesson I could give anyone, basically just have very little. In essence, he said you only need very little to kind of make, what you need to survive. And then if you have that stability in some other job, and you're not completely
Hmm.
wrecked or burnt out, you can still create. And it doesn't have to be this thing where you get picked up by some flashy person that, changes your life. Because I don't think that those people necessarily exist anymore. Not just because I haven't met them in my, 8 years, because I've only been in Melbourne, so I don't know what the rest of the world is like. But I don't think that they exist like they used to. I always think of Oasis and how they played a few shows here and there, and some dude at the back of a smoky lounge was just like smoking his cigar, and he goes, "Yes, those boys are perfect," that guy doesn't exist. You can put on the best show ever. Most people are too economically fucked right now to assist you the way
Yeah.
that you'd like to be assisted back in the 90s or 2000s. And I was a baby back in the 90s. So unless I get a time machine to go
Yeah,
back,
and like back then, like if you had a hit song for the summer, you could buy a house. And now if you have a
absolutely.
hit song for the summer, you could maybe sell some merch on a tour, but you're still renting.
Even if you look back to like 8 years ago or even 10 years ago, I know my friend who's obsessed with Kevin Parker, Tame Impala,
Oh
Australia's
yeah.
biggest export. He,
When I was in Perth, people were like, he comes here sometimes.
yeah, well, he
Really, this bar? Yeah, he'll come here and watch shows.
and that was back then, right? So imagine now that he's become a pop sensation. But back when he was, yeah, doing psych rock, I mean, he has that song Elephant. My friend told me that paid
Hmm.
for his house. That song paid for his fucking house.
Yeah, man, that's a good song,
Meanwhile,
but also songs aren't buying houses anymore.
Bro, songs are fucking losing houses. Like I can't even me investing time into making music is losing my ability to actually have a home. You know, it has in the past as well. So
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that is a downer kind of way to end the show, but how about an upper? What piece of advice, what inspiring piece of advice could you give the future generation of artists?
For me personally, I'm always inspired by various artists that came before me. One of them, just coming to mind because we're talking about punk rock a little bit with your background is, I think Iggy Pop was insane. He got his band together, and they were from Detroit, and it's a big industrial town back then. And he
Yeah.
took his father's electric shaver, which was an item that fascinated him, and he's like, "Hey, let's make music. Let's sound like this electric shaver." And they're like, "That sounds insane. Fuck it, let's do it." And then I think when he was young, this might not be true, someone told me this, but I think when he was young, he saw Jim Morrison and was like, "Oh, to be a front man of a band, you just need a lot of energy." And they just ran with that. Let's sound like a shaver and all have energy. And they
Well,
created a whole new music genre that inspired all sorts of people. And they just fucking went for it. And I think that's great. They didn't ask for permission. They didn't second guess it. A lot of people have been probably done what Iggy Pop did, and we didn't hear about him, and they hopefully had fun 4 years doing it. But I think there's a beauty to like, you know, be inspired by what you're around and listen to your own little voices and trust that they're good enough and then step forward. And I think when you're first beginning as an artist, your tastes are better than your skill. And that's a tricky
mm,
place to be because you're like, I
yeah.
like all these Truffaut films, but when I make movies, they're shit. I'm terrible. Well, keep watching Truffaut and then, work on your craft, get the hours in. And then one day you're like, I don't even care about Truffaut anymore. I actually like what I'm making, but it's going to take 7 years. It's going to take 15 years. Honestly, I've been around forever. I'm old, old guy's been around since the beginning of time, but I've been doing this clown comedy shit for fucking I think I started stand up 22 years ago and went to clown school 20 years ago. Like I've been doing this shit for quite some time. I work in a Vegas show. I've done almost 3,000 shows at a Vegas show. Like,
Wow.
just been doing it, and there's something, put in the time, put in the time.
Yeah, people don't I mean a lot of artists don't particularly like the early stuff. Some artists despise it, you know? Like I hate a lot of this shit because it just represents all the imperfections that you had at the time when you had no control. And
Imperfections and the weird, like strange, insecure ego of a 20-year-old. And you're
yeah,
older and you look back, you're like, oh my God, I was so weird.
but that stuff is so beautiful and those emotions were so beautiful at the time to feel.
You
And
feel so much at that age. It's really,
yeah,
really
you
great. Like a
do.
young artist.
And you delude yourself later on saying like, oh, I'm holier than that. I'm better than that. Like my voice, like, oh, I was singing in like an American accent. I'm Australian, yada, yada, yada. It's like, who gives a shit? Everything you did to get to where you are now and where you will go is relevant. None of it should be deleted, changed. And this is rich coming from me. I have songs in my band that I fucking hate because again, you get wrapped up in that commercial side of things where you go, I want people to see me as this like neat package. I guess the real question we have to ask ourselves is why? Why is it important to lie to people who are just like us? When you present an image of yourself that's extremely clean cut and fake and also curated, you're
Yeah.
lying to people and you're saying it's kind of like I don't know. It's basically telling people that like you got to where you are by sheer, by genetics, basically, or whatever, rather than being the sum of everything you've learned, and everyone you've met that influences your art. And we don't give enough credit to that. Every person you meet, like, is going to affect your art as well. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent, but I just think it's so important for people, and this hasn't really come up on the potty before, which is weird because I used to talk about this all the time. But like, yeah, you don't have to overtly curate your favorite artists. Some of them don't, so
Hmm.
it's not
Yeah.
relevant.
And yeah, that makes me think real quickly here. It's like we're so oppressed by big art, It's like I live my little life, I've got my little friends in my little town, and then you see some movie and they're doing fantastic shit in a city and it's fucking incredible and everyone's funny and charming. You're like, oh, my friends are terrible and I'm such a loser. Or,
Yeah,
you're
dude.
like, oh, I'm learning my guitar and I'm making my little songs with my friends. And then you hear some shit with like genius level production value, and you're like, ah, crap, we're garbage, just quit. And it's really sad how easy. And I went through this a lot in my youth. I think it's easy to be oppressed by these. I'll never be Katy Perry. Why bother singing? I
Yeah.
saw her in concert. There's 50,000 backup dancers and 20 costumes. Why do anything? It's like I guess it's like back to the AI thing. Why
Yeah, and
bother?
it's true, but even like I was just thinking because you mentioned Detroit before, there's just so many things about that culture, especially a lot of independent. I feel this way about like Jim Jarmusch. Actually, I recently watched a Jim Jarmusch movie, Night on Earth, and
Oh yeah, great one.
I watched the movie and I was like, how the fuck did he make this? I thought this guy was supposed to be one of us, like an independent, movie director. Here he is with God knows how much money to do a globe-trotting epic,
All over the world with like
fucking
low key
everywhere,
celebrity
bro. It's like in
cameos.
four different locations, in four different, well, three different languages, with the type of cinematography and a type of film stock that you can't even fucking get anymore. And you're just sitting there going, "Am I supposed to feel inspired? Because I just feel stressed. Like I
Yeah.
just feel stressed because when I used to watch Coffee and Cigarettes, which is my favorite movie of his, I used to feel so inspired. I was like, oh, he just got Iggy Pop and Tom Waits. Well, okay, firstly, how did we even get to that level, right? He got two of the most famous fucking people, and he
You gotta
made
be
it
pretty
seem
cool to
like,
get those guys.
yeah, exactly. So one does that, I always think that, it's hard for me to relate to a lot of artists that I admire and love because the moment that I find out that they were spoon-fed their success in any way, shape, or form, it just leads to this difference in kind of ethos of where I am, and how hard I work in my life without really any assistance from anyone except for like community, right? That I work with. And I go, man, these guys did a third of that work, 20 years ago,
Mm.
and someone picked them up off their feet and just carried them the rest of the way. And I think that that's a scary mentality because you start to not relate to the art that you're consuming, the art that you were raised on that was so dear to you. You start to go, wait, does he deserve my streams? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
'Cause
Does he
I
deserve my fraction of a penny?
no, and it's subjective. I only think that artists will care about those questions. I don't think that your average, person is going to give a shit. Your average consumer will just consume, right? Because they like how
Hmm.
it sounds and they don't think as deep as maybe you and I do about this stuff because this is our livelihood, right? And I think, a banker would definitely care if the Wall Street market crashes or whatever. An artist definitely has to be on edge all the time with all these threats that are coming around and this new world
Uh-huh.
we live
Uh-huh.
in. And I think that I guess the one thing I want to close with is just like I was just walking around South Korea before. I mean, I'm still in South Korea, but I went for a walk out here. It's fucking beautiful. And I just thought to myself, I felt this sense of hope that I hadn't felt in a long time. And I used
Uh,
to feel it like maybe 10 years ago, a lot more. Not the sense of dread and frenetic chaos that I usually feel, but this like sense of hope that maybe there still is a life for us creatives, maybe there's still something that's going to give. And we'll see, I guess.
yeah, yeah. I think there is. I feel like it might change or shift, but I feel like the human soul will need and desire to gather with others in concert and enjoy art. I think as there's more screens everywhere, more chaos and breakdown, people are going to say, "Oh my God, let me go. Me and 25 people watching a band. Me and 250 people watching a band. This is amazing." I think that's really going to be more necessary than ever.
I think so too. I was researching the punk rock scene in South Korea because I've done research on the one in Tokyo when I went last year and the year before. And apparently a lot of it has shut down. A lot of that culture is shut down. And it's made me realize how much I take for granted what I do and the community that I build around me. And it's what you said before about like watching people on screen. You're like, man, I wish my friends were as cool as that. It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
my friends are as cool as that. It's just that I wish that life was a little bit easier on the living side.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm sure they did too. And just, finally, like just because Iggy Pop had the support of Bowie and stuff like that doesn't mean he wasn't pumped full of drugs and exploited and corrupted at basically every single point of the way in his career. That guy made it, quote unquote, and would still end up on the sidewalk completely fucked up, like a just basically going around in a dazed stupor. So all that glitters is not gold. And yeah, that's probably a good way to to end the podcast.
Well, hey, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much. Nice to talk to you, and keep up the good fight.
No, nice chat to you. No, yeah, enjoy the rest of your day, nights, existence.
Yeah, thank you.